You left us examples of the highest perfection through your saints. Draw us to you, as that by following in your footsteps and renouncing myself, we may seek your will. Increase active hope in us and the desire to be found similar to you at the judgment and to possess you forever in heaven. Amen.
Amen.
Your Son, Holy Spirit, Amen. Tonight, we have a familiar face to many of the Queen of All Saints parishioners here tonight in the form of Deacon Mark Plaiss. Deacon Mark has been married for 38 years to his sweetheart Sarah, and I know we've heard many stories of her during his homilies at Queens. He has 2 grown sons. Presently, he teaches at the Department of Religious Studies at Carmel Catholic High School in Mundelein, Illinois. He has essays that have appeared in the American Benedictine Review, the Cistercian Studies Quarterly, the Journal of Ecumenical Studies and Commonwealth, with his latest essay appearing in issue 4 of the American Benedictine Review in December of this past year. Deacon Mark has authored 3 books, with the latest being just in 2010. And for the last 5 years has written columns in the Notions and Ruminations that have appeared in the Northwest Indiana Catholic. Let's go ahead and welcome Deacon Mark as he shares information on St. Bernard of Clairvaux.
Good evening, Michigan City! Good to be back. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad to be here. I'm not a Bernard scholar. I'm just a guy that likes St. Bernard. Okay? So I'm going to tell you what I know. It's not much, but it's something. Okay? It's going to be divided into 3 parts. I'm just going to give you a very brief biography of Bernard, just a very brief outline of his life. Then I'm going to give you his the root of his thinking and his theology. And then I'm going to move to, what's this guy have to do with us today? Okay, so that's the 3 points. And I tell you right now, guys, it ain't going to make 90 minutes. So when I'm done, I'm done. Okay? All right. Let's see here. I got all kinds of stuff here. Here. Okay, that. I'm a former Baptist, so I always bring my Bible. Then I look like a Baptist Bible. Come on. What else? I got all kinds of stuff in there. Oh, it's Bernard. Oh, I'll save that for later. Okay. Part 1. First of all, let's get his name down. Okay, it's Bernard. It's Bernard. Bernard was born in the year 1090, died in the year 1153. So he's an old guy. I understand McCarthy did to Benedict. Okay, so he's not as old as Benedict, but he really loved it. Okay, so he's from most of his life is in the first half of the 12th century. Okay, he was born into nobility in the Burgundy area of France. Okay, his father was an aristocrat, so was his mother. Bernard was the 3rd of 7 children, and 6 of those children were sons. Bernard's mother dies when he is 19, and soon after his mother dies, he enters a monastery, the new monastery called Cîteaux. This would have been probably around the year 1113. Now, he just doesn't come by himself. He brings 30 men with him, all of his brothers and all of his male cousins. So he brings 30 men with him when he comes. Within 3 years of his arrival, they make him abbot of a new monastery about 100 miles away, but it's still in the Burgundy area, called Clairvaux, hence Bernard of Clairvaux. Okay, that's why he's called that, because he was the abbot for the rest of his life at this monastery called Clairvaux. He was 25 years old, okay, when he was made abbot. He traveled extensively throughout Europe. He was a hobnobber of all the big shots of this period of time, especially the popes. One of his monks becomes a pope, Pope Eugene, I think Eugene III. Even though he's abbot, he spends much time outside of the monastery, and he's founding other monasteries. He's doing church business and all that kind of stuff. So he's rarely at the monastery. However, when he is there, he manages to find time to write. He is most famous for a 4-volume commentary, and this is just one volume of it, 4-volume commentary on the Old Testament book, the Song of Songs, sometimes called the Song of Solomon. Now, the Song of Songs has 8 chapters. Bernard wrote 86 sermons on the Song of Songs, but only got halfway through chapter 2. And then he died. Okay. That's what he's most famous for. He also wrote other things on loving God, steps of humility and pride, grace and free choice, tons of letters. We have 547 letters of his. Wrote other sermons. He just wrote a lot. Okay. Now keep in mind when I say he writes, he wrote everything in Latin. Okay. An Australian monk named Michael Casey says there's no better reason to learn Latin than to read Bernard. He said if you can read Bernard in the original, it's just beautiful. Okay. I don't read Latin, so I don't know. So I have to take his word for it. Bernard preached the Second Crusade, which didn't work out too well. Okay. And he got the blame for it too. After the Second Crusade, which is 1146 to 1149, basically goes back to the monastery and that's it. Okay. He died at age 63, just 2 years older than I am right now. He founded in his lifetime 163 monasteries, mostly in France, but they stretched all the way from Ireland and Sweden all the way down to Portugal, and southern Italy. He was offered many bishoprics to be a bishop, always declined them. The largest see would have been the Archbishop of Reims, which he turned down. He said he was a monk. But one of his monks does become pope. He was made a saint in the year 1174, just 21 years after his death, and he was made a doctor of the church in 1830. So that's Bernard. Okay, that's it. This is that. All right. Now let's get to his. Any questions? Pop up a hand. If you got a question, just pop it up. You know. Yeah.
Don't cardinals have to become a pope? So how does a monk become a cardinal?
He was asked to be Eugene is the guy. He was asked to be a bishop, and then they just made him pope. I don't know. But Bernard was offered to be a bishop. Didn't want it. Okay. All right. Anything else on Bernard so far? Kind of dry. He's a good guy. He really is. All right. Now, his basic thought. The root of Bernard's thought is very simple. It lies in the image and likeness of God. That's it. Everything that Bernard writes about, all those sermons on the Song of Songs, everything, it all comes down to image and likeness. The human beings are created in image and likeness of God. Now, we've heard this a zillion times, right? We're made in the image and the likeness of God. Well, what the hell does it mean? I'm serious. What does it mean that we're even created in the image of God? What does that mean? You might want to volunteer. I mean, we say it all the time. We teach little kids, you're created in the image and likeness of God. Yes. And my students can parrot that like that. But I say, well, what does that mean? For Bernard, image meant free will. Every human being has free will. And that's the image of God. Likeness. For Bernard, likeness to God means you have the free ability to choose the good. Okay? Now, just off the top of your head, Bernard said one can never be destroyed, but the other can certainly be destroyed. What do you think it is? Image or likeness? Likeness. Likeness. So let me give you a little demonstration. How can you talk about a saint without a ball-peen hammer? You mean, does the other guys bring a ball-peen hammer? No, I can't believe that. Okay, you gotta have a ball-peen hammer. Okay, now, here is, to give you a visual, what Bernard is talking about. He's talking about image and likeness. Okay, the head of this thing, the steel, that's the image of God. Okay? Now, I've sanded it down a little bit. It's got a little shine to it. Okay? But it once had no rust on it at all. Now suppose, just suppose, I take this hammer and I open this door right here and I throw it out into the street. And it's there the rest of the summer. And it's there all fall. And it's there all the next winter. And then a year from now, July 2016, I come and by gosh, that hammer is still there. What's going to be all over that steel head? Okay, exactly. Now, suppose I have a steel brush and some sandpaper, and I scrape that rust away. What am I going to be able to see? Yes, the steel. Okay. The rust is the sin that we have that makes us lose the likeness of God. But the image is always there. The image is always there. It's the likeness that gets all screwed up by sin. Okay? And in the analogy, the likeness, the sin is the rust. So what Bernard does, Mr. Ball-peen right here. What Bernard does, he said, all life is trying to conform ourselves to the image and likeness of God. That's what you do in life. That's all you do. Okay? We had a name for that. We're saved. Are you saved? Have you been saved? Well, Bernard would say, how much do you reflect the image of God? See, it's not. Let's do it this way. Kathy, stand right there. Just stand up right there. Okay. Kathy's God. Kathy is God. Okay? Now, I'm everybody else. I'm all of humanity. And we perceive this space between us. Oh man, I'm far from God. And I'm far from God because I've sinned, and there's rust all over this. Okay? So we think, I gotta get with God, man. So I want to do this now. a time, Bernard says, when God and us human beings are separated. Then you might, thank you. So you might be asking, well then what's the deal? The deal is that we're not separating from God, and I've got to get to Him by doing this, that, and the other thing, whatever it is. The deal is not how close we are to God, but how much do we resemble God? How much do we resemble that likeness that we were created in? How much are we resemble the image that we were created in? That's Bernard. Okay? Does it make sense? Puzzle books? Anybody shaking their fist in umbrage at this? No? Okay. All right. So, image and likeness. That's it. Okay? Now, how do we get this image and likeness? Created in the image of God. Everybody's in the image and likeness of God. And we tell that to the kids since they're this high. And they can parrot that back to you instantly. Okay, so after I tell them what image and likeness is, now I say, well, how does it get there? Well, let's take a look. Okay? Right here in your Bible here. Okay? All right. This is from Genesis 2, and it's verse 7. Okay, and it goes like this. The Lord God formed man out of the clay of the ground and blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and so man became a living being. So what does God blow into the man, to the human being? You want to read it again? Yes or no? Yes. All right, here we go. The Lord God formed man out of the clay of the ground and blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and so man became a living being. Question: what did God blow into the human being? Himself. But what is that? Himself. Say it. Himself. Who is? God. Yes, there you go. It's God. God blows Himself into us. That's how He gets there. That's how the image and likeness gets there. He blows Himself into us. So we're walking around with God inside us. Now we're not God, but we got God inside us. Well, how did He get there? Well, He put Himself in there. Okay? Now, remember I said this a minute ago, that there's never a time when we're actually separated from God. It's an illusion, says Bernard. Okay? Now, let's go back to this passage. The Lord God formed man out of the clay of the ground, blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and so man became a living being. All right. And my wife is sitting over here. Okay, Sarah's over here. Now, if I'm going to blow air into her nose, how close to her do I have to be? I'm going to be damn close, right? All right, I've got to be so close that my lips are over her nose. That's how close God is to us right now. Bernard says, that's how close God is. He's so close that He's breathing into you right now. Because if He wasn't, you'd be dead. Listen to Job 33. Job 33:4. For the Spirit of God has made me. The breath of the Almighty keeps me alive. It keeps you alive. So it's not a one-time thing. It's not a one-time deal. You know, God is not going, all right, you're alive. No. He's breathing into you right now. And what is He breathing into you? Himself. So that you and I and all human beings are in the image and likeness of God. We don't have something from God. We have God. This is what differentiates us from Mr. Squirrel and the friendly rabbit. Okay? Now this drives my students crazy. Okay, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean my rabbit or my dog, especially dogs, what do you mean they want to suffer? Well, I know. You mean he's not going to heaven? Well, I don't know. If God wants Fido in heaven, he'll bring him to heaven. God can do anything he wants, but only human beings are created in the image and likeness of God. And it's put there by God himself, and he blows himself in there. And he keeps doing it until we die. Okay? Now, after that, that's a whole different thing. Going into a little bit of that in a minute. But are we good on image and likeness? Yeah? Yeah. I must make clear, Bernard doesn't come up with this out of nowhere. Okay? Origen, another old guy, Pythagoras, another old guy, way back, way back, they're talking about this as well. The difference is that Bernard really stresses the human being first, as opposed to God. Okay, does that make sense? All the other guys would start, yes, we're created image and likeness. God didn't talk about God. Bernard, they would talk about human beings, but they would stress God. Bernard's just the other way around. Bernard stresses the humanity, the humanness of us all. Okay? And what gives us our dignity is this image and likeness. You good? All right. Okay. Now, we're creating the image and likeness. How did they get there? God blows it into us. He continues to do so. Now, and I said, he stresses the humanness. Now, what book in all of the Bible, according to Bernard anyway, best illustrates this? Bernard says, the Old Testament book, the Song of Songs. Okay. That's why he writes 86 sermons on it. It only gets to chapter 2. Okay. He said they didn't even finish it. Okay. He loves it so much. Again, Bernard is not unique in this. Many other church fathers, especially Origen, okay, his friend William of St. Terry, they all write commentaries on parts or all of the song. Okay? So he's not breaking any new ground. It's just that he spent so much time on it, and his language was so good that he's famous for it. So, I want to read a passage from the song. Okay? Now, if you ever want to embarrass a 14-year-old boy, have him read this, what I'm going to read to you in class. I've had students say, I'm not going to read it. Here we go. Oh, got to get there first. Here we go. All right. To set it up, the Song of Songs is a dialogue between the bride and the groom. Okay? And like a Greek chorus, but we don't need to go into that. Okay? So there's the bride and the groom speaking to one another. Okay? And this is chapter 7, starting at verse 7. The groom is speaking. It goes like this. How beautiful you are. How pleasing. My love, my delight. Your very figure is like a palm tree. Your breasts are like clusters. I said, and this is great. I said, I will climb the palm tree and will take hold of its branches. Do you get the image? All right, God is so prude. All right? So, it goes on. Now, let your breasts be like clusters of the vine, and the fragrance of your breath like apples, and your mouth like an excellent wine. Okay, that's the groom. Then the bride. Excellent wine that flows smoothly from my lover. spreading over the lips and teeth. I belong to my lover, and for me he yearns. Come, my love, my lover, let us go forth to the fields and spend the night among the villages. Let us go early to the vineyards and see the vines are in bloom. There, I will give you my love. Oh, that's great stuff. Okay, God is no prude. Now, what Bernard says is, this is what Bernard says about this. Bernard says, hey guys, that's the relationship between God and us. It is a love affair. Yes, Bernard talked about this also. He talked about the relationship between God and his church. Bernard says that's absolutely true. But Bernard goes a step further and says, oh boys, remember, he's a monk. Okay? Oh boys, this is the relationship between God and us. It is the relationship between husband and wife. And when husband and wife are intimate, I will climb the palm tree. When husband and wife are intimate, that's how close God is to you and me. He's that close. And those of you who are married know that's darn close. Okay? And that's Bernard's point. Okay? God, in other words, Captain, stand up again. In other words, God is not out there someplace. He's right here. How close is he? Well, he's close enough to blow air into your nose. Well, how close is he really? He is close to you as husband and wife are when they're intimate. That's Bernard. That's radical stuff. That's 12th freaking century. Okay? That's the 12th century. Bernard's a radical. He is saying stuff about God that make people blush. And that's good. Okay? God becomes one of us because he loves us and he wants to share everything we do except sin. Everything. Okay? That's how much dignity he has, how much respect he has for our dignity. Okay, we good so far? All right. And let's see. Faith, then. Then how does faith pull into this? Faith, then, is the desire for God. That's what faith is. It is a desire. It is a desire for God. Just as in the Song of Songs, the bride and the groom desire one another, that's faith. Faith becomes a desire. It's a holy desire, but it is a desire. And so for Bernard, faith is not so much, although he would firmly agree that yes, faith are these principles, like we say in the creed every Sunday. It's not that Bernard is saying, let's chuck the creed. He's not saying that. He's saying he believes everything that's in the creed. But what he is saying is, that is, in final analysis, what is most important is, how much do you desire God? It's not what you know. It's who you love. And Bernard says that love for God becomes a desire, just like a groom or bride desires her husband or spouse or wife. So faith is not so much a belief in certain things. I believe in one God. Well, no. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, every Sunday we say that. And that's fine, it's very good. Yes, we believe that. Bernard says, yes, that's good. But who do you love? You love God. Because God loves you the way a husband loves his wife, or a wife loves her husband. So that's basically Bernard's thought. Now, I do want to read one other passage. It's from the New Testament. This whole issue about desire. Okay? It's from John's Gospel. Right after Jesus' resurrection, he's appearing to Mary Magdalene. Okay? And Mary Magdalene sees Jesus and is so ecstatic that she rushes towards him and wants to hug him. And Jesus says to her, Mary. She turned and said to him in Hebrew, Rabboni, which means teacher. Jesus then says to her, stop holding on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. Now what Bernard says in here, in this passage, is that the reason Jesus does not want Mary to touch him is because he's going to go away soon. He's physically, as a human being, he's not going to be here. Bernard says, so we need to desire Jesus in faith. And so faith and desire are two different sides of the same coin. In other words, we're going to desire God. And that desire for God, that desire for Christ, is the bottom line. That's the bottom line. It's not what you know, it's who you love. Good? All right. Hold on. All right. Now, who's been married here over 30 years? Anybody married over 30 years? Okay, 30 years. Those of you who've been married over 30 years, you know this instinctively. The love you have for your spouse is different now than it was. I'm not saying it's better or worse, I'm just saying it's different. Okay? It's different because you learn more and more stuff about your spouse, the love grows deeper and deeper and deeper. Again, Bernard uses this image of love for husband and wife, and this everlasting love that goes deeper and deeper in husband and wife, as the metaphor for us in heaven. And I hate that term. I hate the term heaven. I hate the word saved. Okay? Because it implies a place. Okay? It's more of a union. Remember, there is no separation between us and God. That is an illusion of Satan, says Bernard. It's how well you resemble God. What Bernard says is, when we die, we go to heaven. The desire for God and the search for God will never end. It's never ending. It will never, ever end. The deeper we go, the deeper we'll want to go. And the deeper we go in God's love, the more we resemble Him. And that goes on forever. That's what heaven is. Heaven is being with God forever, wherever or whatever that is, and becoming more and more like Him, although never becoming Him. Just as husband and wife, their love for one another over the decades changes and grows deeper. Okay? So, heaven is simply that state of being where you are always desiring God and wanting to go deeper and deeper in His love. And it never ends. Okay? So, in other words, heaven is not a place where you go, man, I made it. Because it's just the beginning, says Bernard. It's just the beginning. Because for eternity, all you're going to do is go deeper and deeper and deeper into the love of God. And the deeper you go, the more you're going to desire it. Okay? I have there's one quote from Bernard. It is from Sermon 83. And it goes like this. Sermon 84, excuse me. It goes like this. Nor I think will a soul cease to seek Him, even when it has found Him. It is not with steps of the feet that God is sought, but with the heart's desire. And when the soul happily finds him, its desire is not quenched, but kindled. Does the consummation of joy bring about the consuming of desire? Rather, it is oil poured upon the flames. Joy will be fulfilled, but there will be no end to desire, and therefore no end to the search. So even in heaven, we're searching, and we are desiring. But the difference between heaven and earth is that we will see God as He is, and our joy will be abundant, but it won't be quenched. You know, you drink beer. It's a hot day. Okay, so I go outside and I go mow the yard, and I come in and I'm hot. Okay, so you know I knock back a Budweiser. Okay, no longer thirsty. Well, maybe two. Okay, and then I'm not thirsty anymore. Okay, it's just the opposite with God, says Bernard. When we're in heaven, yes, my thirst is quenched, but man, I still want more. That's heaven. That's Bernard. We good?
Yes.
All right. Now, this whole thing about faith and the creed, for example, in the propositions of the faith. Remember, Bernard says faith is a burning desire for God. Okay? Yes, Bernard would say, yes, all the creed stuff, yes, that's all there. We believe that. It's very important. But what's bottom line is, do you love and desire God? So let me give you an example. Okay? Sarah and I have been married 38 years. Okay? So let's say tomorrow morning, I wake up and I roll over and I say, Sarah, we've been married for 38 years. You know, I think it's time for me to have a little indulgence. But because the sixth commandment says I can't, I won't. But if I didn't that commandment wasn't there, boom, I'd be out there. Now, how do you think she's going to react? Well, is she going to like it? Well, why not? I told her I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to commit adultery. I told her I was. So why? See, everybody laughs. But why? I'm not going to commit adultery. Because the law says I can't. So I won't. So why the tease? Why the titter? Why?
You should love her. That should be the reason you're not going to do it, not because there's a law.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I don't commit adultery because the law says I can't. Might not have been a law with here. I don't commit adultery because the law says I can't. I don't commit adultery because I love my wife and I value the covenant that we have between one another. But in doing that, I keep the law. I keep the law. Yes, I obey the sixth commandment. Do you see the difference? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, that's the difference. Okay. I keep the law by loving. And that's what Bernard is saying. If you love, you keep the law. Boom. It's like that. You don't have to think twice about it. Okay? The farther you are in your mind from God, the more legalistic you're going to be. Can I get away with this? Can I do that? And still, against God, still love me. Okay? So, Bernard, desire. Love. It's the desire. The desire for God that counts. All right? We good?
Yes.
All right. So, that's part 2. That's it. All right? So, part 3. Any questions, comments, concerns, gripes? Yes?
You were talking about how close He is to you.
How close God is to us?
But isn't He actually in us?
Yes, yes. That's what I'm trying to say. He is in us. That's how close he is. How close is he? Well, he's so close to you that he is in you. He breathed himself into you. That's why I read that image from Genesis. And then I used the whole thing about this distancing. Well, that's an illusion. Okay? And then I used if God's breathing himself into us, well, then how close does he got to be? Well, he's got to have his mouth right over my nose. That's how close he is. So this idea that there is a separation between us and God, it's a total illusion. Now, I will grant you that sometimes God feels like 5 trillion light years away. Okay? Or he's not there at all. I'm not going to argue that. Of course we feel like that. Okay? But it's not true. It's an illusion. It's a result of sin. Not personal sin, just the original sin. Okay? That we are separated from God. What does Adam and Eve do when they realize they have sinned? They hide from God. Okay? There is a separation, but he's not separated. He's coming after us. He's looking for us. Remember the parable of the prodigal son. The father goes out looking for the son, the younger son, before the younger son is even close to home. And what does the father do? Does he wait for him? All right, I know you're coming back. Come on, grovel. Tell me how wrong you were. No. The old man runs to his son. He doesn't walk, he runs to him. And before the son can get out a single word, before the son can get out a single syllable, the father hugs and kisses him. Son hasn't said anything yet. That's the point. Okay? We good? Any other questions? Comments? Concerns? Yes.
Well, the heaven thing.
Yes.
To be a place.
Yes.
I know for me, losing loved ones as a child,
Yes.
heaven became,
Plus.
knowing they were in a place that was beautiful and all that, was so comforting.
No, yes. So, and your question is?
And so, but Peter has the keys. So
He does.
it's gotta be a place, in my mind.
I'm not saying it's not a place. What I'm saying is, ultimately what heaven is not how many mansions there are, or how nice it is. Ultimately, heaven is that place where you are in union with God as God is. And that may be a cottage along a stream. It may be wherever. Okay? But ultimately, that's what it is. And that's what Bernard is saying. It's the desire. And once we are there, that desire will never, ever diminish. In fact, it will only grow.
Instead of saying they're in heaven, why wouldn't you just say they're with God?
Yeah, either way. Again, that's my own little cadello. Okay, that's my own
Wherever.
point. If you want to push my button, start talking about heaven, start talking about hell, purgatory. Okay. Yes.
My understanding is that, what I understand is that hell is when God is not going to be in us anymore.
Bingo.
And heaven is when not only God breathed His breath in us to give us life,
Right.
but heaven is when we are going to be inside of God.
That's exactly
That is
right.
heaven.
And we'll never get completely inside of it because it's always going to go deeper. Because God is love and love is limitless. Okay? It'll never end. Okay, now we have all kinds of metaphors to describe that state of being. A nice place. Okay? Whatever. It's not that I'm not saying these are right or wrong. All I'm saying is what for Bernard is talking about. It's union with God. It's being in God. That's what it's all about. Okay? Any other questions? Comments? Concerns? Yes.
I always thought that in my mind that faith was believing in whatever that you could not actually see or touch or
Yeah.
find senses.
Yeah. Hebrews 11:1. I had to look it up, but it's what you can't see. Exactly, it is. That's exactly it. Now, keep in mind, what I'm giving you is Bernard's ideas. Okay? I'm not saying this is the be-all and end-all. I'm just saying this is what Bernard thinks.
Okay.
Okay? And so for Bernard, faith is a desire. One of the reasons why I like him is that very thing. Okay? Instead of saying, well, what is faith? Well, faith is I believe in this, that, and the other thing. It's not that this, that, and the other thing are wrong. They're actually true, but so, okay, if let me put it in a different way. Sarah and I are walking down the street, okay, and somebody walks up to me and says, hey, are you two married? And yeah, we're married. Now, he might say, well, tell me about it. Well, okay, well, we went to high school, all that other stuff, okay? What I'm not going to do is whip out from my wallet a copy of my marriage certificate. Although that's the proof that I'm married. Okay? What do I talk about? Well, I talk about our relationship. I talk about our love. That's what counts. That's the bottom line, says Bernard. It's not that the marriage certificate is wrong. It's just that, who cares? Okay? So, now don't go back and say, well, Deacon Mark says the creed. No, you don't care about the creed. I'm not saying that. Okay? I'm saying, where is the emphasis for Bernard? And the emphasis for Bernard is on the desire. Okay? All right. One last point, and then I'm done. And that's this. It says, how is Bernard applicable to today? Well, I think he's very applicable to today. For me, Bernard is someone we should be talking about far more than we do. For three reasons. Okay, first, people want to experience God, not just know about God. This railed Bernard in his time. Scholasticism is just taking off. Bernard is very skeptical of scholasticism. Father Kevin talked about Aquinas. Okay? Well, he's the poster boy, Aquinas, is the poster boy for scholasticism. I'm not saying anything against scholasticism. But what I am saying is, Bernard, he didn't like it too much. Why? Because, it's really good that you're talking about God, but, oh boys, you've got to have a desire for God, not just talk about Him. It's my experience in teaching high school students, they want to know God, they want to experience God, they don't want to talk about God. Bernard's the man for that. Okay? Okay, I can put it in a different way, okay, without trying to be crude. Okay? Do you want to have sexual relations with your spouse, or you just want to talk about it? It's the same thing. Okay? It's the same thing. So, reason number one, people want to experience God, not just talk about God. Bernard's big on that. Number two, Bernard's theology starts with the human person. Scholasticism reverses that. Okay? I'm not a cradle Catholic. So I grew up Baptist. Okay? So I didn't grow up with the catechism. Who's the cradle Catholics in me? Can anybody tell me what that first question was in the catechism? Who is God? And what was the answer?
Creator.
Yeah, see, he's the creator, okay? And you're supposed to love him and all this other kind of stuff, right? Okay, well, okay, so on your wedding night, okay, you're my spouse. I have to love you for these reasons. Come on, let's get real. And that's what Bernard is saying. Let's get real here. Okay? Bernard is the man for our times. Okay? People want to talk about God and how it affects the human person. And Bernard starts with the human person. Okay? All right, that's number two. And finally, last one. Okay. Bernard's central metaphor for this relationship between God, for us experiencing God, is husband and wife. Most human beings marry. Most human beings understand the relationship between husband and wife. And Bernard's saying, oh boys, you know, it's right there in the Bible. Let's start with that. Okay. People can understand that. They experience that. If we can see that God, our relationship with God is like that, it will make it easier for us to love and desire God. Okay? That's my reasons why I think he's applicable today. Any other questions, comments, concerns, gripes, umbrage? Yes.
I thought in order to be a saint, you had to perform some kind of a miracle. How is Bernard?
Bernard, I have no clue. I have no clue. And frankly, I don't care. Okay? He's a saint, he's a doctor. He may have no idea what he did. None whatsoever.
Well, is it true that to be made a saint, you have to perform?
You have to, yeah, there has to be a miracle, it has to be verified. I'm not in the miracle business. You know, I the saint-making business.
That's true now, but it
No.
doesn't.
See, I just don't know. I don't know. Yes?
Just got a question. How would he then address like sin and mortal sin? Then you wouldn't be separated from God. Your vision would be more cloudy, or
Yes. My wife is very good on this one. Okay? And C.S. Lewis. Lewis says, imagine you're looking in a mirror. Okay? And you can see yourself. Okay? Now imagine that what you're seeing is God's image. Okay? Got it? Okay, now, you accidentally cracked the mirror. Okay, now you cracked the mirror, but you can still see it. Okay, but what if you crack it like 1,000,000 times? Can you still see the image? No. Not as well, or you not at all. And that's the point. Bernard would say, it's not that you're separated from God, because you can't be, says Bernard. What happens is you no longer resemble God. And that kills you. Okay? That is sin. What is mortal sin is that which completely cracks the mirror. Or in the image that I use with the ball-peen hammer, it's so encrusted with rust you can't tell what this is. That's what sin is. Okay? So it's not separation, it's resemblance. How well do you resemble God? Well, someone who's in heavy mortal sin. But Bernard would say, but you can always get that likeness back. You can always get that resemblance back by going to confession. Okay? And then it's, in this thing, it's bright and silver again. Or if it's the mirror image, the mirror is whole again. Anything else? Yep. This is Matthew.
Repeat the question.
What? I'm sorry? Oh, scholasticism. She asked what scholasticism is. Scholasticism is a method of theology that arises toward, it starts in the 12th century, okay, and reaches its, well, I want to say zenith, but it reaches a high peak under about a century or so later under Aquinas, Thomas Aquinas. The method is usually done in a disputation, a question, okay, and Aquinas perfects this to the T in his Summa Theologica. He'll ask a question. He'll say, okay, is there a God? And then he will say, well, it doesn't look like there's really a God. We can't see God, blah, blah, blah. And then he says, but I say, and then he goes into the reasons why it is. Okay? In other words, scholasticism is a very intellectual exercise. Okay? These are the reasons that we believe that someone might believe that there is no God. Here are the reasons we believe there is a God. And so then you draw a conclusion. Okay, it's not that Bernard would be against that. He's saying, now wait a minute. He's saying, we need to desire and love God. All we're doing is mental exercises. Okay? Anybody else? Yep.
Of the 30 that went with him?
Yes.
Did they all stay?
As far as I know, yes, they did. One may have left. But what is of interest is that his father then comes. His father comes later in life to Clairvaux, not to C2, to Citeaux. Okay, so he comes and becomes a monk at the monastery where his son is the abbot. Yeah. Yes?
Was he ever married?
No, you're talking about Bernard.
Yes.
No. Now, there's all kinds of stories about Bernard. Whether they're true or not, I have no idea. But he was supposed to be so good looking, and he was so handsome, that he had to fend off the babes by going into a monastery. I don't know how true that is, but those are the stories. I personally think it's a bunch of bunk. It's just to show how chaste he was. He turned away the damsels. Yeah.
I was just going to say, that was very common back then, that even husbands and wives, on
That's
their marriage night, they would say,
Yes.
we love God more and we're going to go to the
That's it.
monastery and the convent.
Eloise.
Still married.
Yes. Yeah, Eloise and Eloise. They're married, but they go separate. They go into different monasteries. Yeah. Yeah, Bernard's a neat guy. I like it. So, anyway, that's all I got. As I said, I'm not a scholar. I just like the guy. What can I say? Okay. Yes?
Well, so tell us about Eloise and whatever his name is.
Oh, actually, I don't know that much. All I can tell you is that Abelard is the man at the time of Bernard that is really cranking up the scholasticism, and Bernard really does not like this guy. Okay, so he goes after him, like the debates and all this other kind of stuff, and this just grinds him to dust because Bernard stacked the deck on him. Okay, so Bernard is not a perfect guy. I mean, he preaches the Second Crusade. Okay, go kill those people. They don't worship the right God. So, and then the crusade that Second Crusade just comes crashing down. Okay, and then when it does, people point fingers at Bernard, saying, you shouldn't have said this, you shouldn't have said that, blah, blah, blah. Bernard, at the end of his life, he wasn't a happy man. And he died at age 63. Of course, 63 in the 12th century, that's kind of old. Okay? 63 now, that's just 2 years older than I am right now. I want to get beyond 63. You've got all that. Anything else? Going once, going twice. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
We're good.
Okay, so
I think we've already.
Deacon Mark has discussed all the questions and answered all of them. So we are not going to pass out the question for you.
Unless you want, I don't care.
No, I think you've addressed
Okay,
quite a
that's
few.
fine.
When we were talking about it with the committee members and we had decided, we had gone through quite a few of those.
Yes.
So just want to thank Deacon Mark for his presentation on St. Bernard. I said it wrong. The
That's all
speech
right.
therapist in me wants to say everything right and I still get things wrong. So, but thank you for that. We would like to we have a raffle for someone to get $10 off of their next time here at Scarby's. And we will be back for our final presentation next week. Father Chris Spanish will be presenting on St. Josemaria of Escriba. So we will be meeting again, 7 o'clock next Wednesday. And
We're good.
we're good, I believe so. Oh, you may reach in. Very alert. We also have Sandy from St. Queen of Angels, who is here in the back table, who has some merchandise for sale. And our winner for the $10 off here at Scarby's is Greg Miller. There you go, Greg. Congratulations. The one thing about being up here is I don't have a list, and people keep telling me things to say, and I don't remember. 1, thank you, Deacon Mark. 2, Sandy from Queen of Angels. 3, next week we're meeting again. 4, remember, Scarby's is open all throughout the week, and they have a great breakfast. So after church, for those of you that go to church on Sundays. And I really think that's about it. Anybody else have anything else they want to say?
Bernard's feast day is August 20th.
Berner's feast day is August 20th.
So it's just, the travelers will be going crazy. It's going wild.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful night. Okay, just a couple more announcements. We have about 15 minutes until we're going to start our presentation. Sandy from Queen of Angels is here with materials to sell, but she is at one of the high top tables across the bar near the bathroom. So we're going to start here soon. But there's one last thing that we need to do. So this man right next to me is Dick Scarborough, and he and his wife have allowed us to have our meetings here in the winter, and then this is our second series here. And they have provided awesome food and a great place for our setting. And the one thing I found out today is that it is his 25th birthday. And so,
we appreciate what you guys doing here. It's not, we're doing you guys, I mean, it's you guys are doing us a favor. We appreciate it. Thank you.
we just appreciate that he's offered great service and hospitality to us. And so, in one last form of embarrassment, put on your singing voices and let's sing happy birthday to him, okay? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dick. Happy birthday to you.
I think that was it for that. Did you get me in? Did you get us in? Or did you cut off my head? I've always wondered what I look like without a head.
I don't know. Go over there again. I'll do you without a head.
All right, make me a little bit taller and a little bit skinnier too.